Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 7, Dreams and Madness. This video is part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Ahsoka, so I have to start with a spoiler warning for Ahsoka up to Season 1, Episode 7. If you have not seen up to this point, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So this episode was okay. It was maybe not enough, not as much character stuff going on, or not as much plot advancement going on, or not as much, we didn't get any big revelations. It's mainly just action sequences in this episode, which is all well and good because I love the action sequences in Ahsoka. They're really good and it's really true to Star Wars. But yeah, I'm worried that they're leaving too much for the finale, but we'll see. We'll see how the finale pays off. So the episode begins in our own galaxy, which I was surprised. I thought that we weren't going to go back there at all, but we get a follow-up to Harris and Dula getting put on trial, and that one asshole senator guy wants to strip her of her command, of her rank, and as I said, I found this whole storyline to be kind of useless and kind of just there to create tension, so I wasn't really that invested in it, but it was kind of interesting, hearing Hera defend herself. I think the asshole guy was being a bit obtuse, though, a bit too much of a, asshole for asshole's sake. But, maybe he's working with the new empire. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, it does seem like a bit of a cliche character. But I did like the moment when C-3PO came in, and they said that Leia had gave Hera orders, and of course they're just making this up after the fact. And I like how Mon Mothma pointed out, like, Senator Organa did not give you these orders, and Hera's like, oh yeah, she did eventually. And I just like the, condescending way that C-3PO was just like, oh yes, Senator Organa will let you get by this time for interfering in her domain. But that, the senator asshole guy was being like, oh, that's a droid, he has no, place here, gives him the right to talk, and then Chopper started losing his shit over that. Yeah, but it makes sense. When as soon as I saw C-3PO, I knew that's what he would say, and they can't really have Princess Leia show up because they're not going to do a CGI or a younger version of Leia. I think they admitted that that's kind of would be disrespectful to Carrie Fisher, although there's some rumors that perhaps they might recast Princess Leia, particularly with Carrie Fisher's daughter playing her, and maybe recast the other characters so we could get them, because it would be interesting with all this stuff going on the timeline to see what the Luke and Leia and Han are up to. But I don't know, like, we've seen Luke be de-aged, but it seems like, especially if you're gonna do Leia, it seems like maybe recasting would be better. But I actually think that, particularly for this show, we're definitely not going to get her. Maybe they'll have her in a different show, but definitely not here. So that we had C-3PO instead, which is fine, and that worked for me, and so I actually thought that was cool. So the scene didn't bother me as much as I thought it might. Then we actually go to the other galaxy where Ahsoka arrives, and we get this nice little training scene with Anakin, Anakin hologram, so we get the return of Hayden Christensen, and this was a nice touch because this shows that she's more at peace with Anakin being her master, because you can tell before her visions that she had in episode 5, that she was kind of ashamed of that because of the fact he became Darth Vader, and was sort of more worried about what it said about her. But now she's fully accepted that side of her, and accepted that he was a great Jedi. And Hu Yang even like comments on what a great Jedi he was. So that was a nice touch. That was a nice little moment. And we had the sequence where, a lot of action sequences. The planet was mined. I felt bad for the Purgle having to deal with all those mines, but apparently they seemed fine. And Ahsoka hiding from Thrawn. I like the scenes with Thrawn. It is really true to his character, how he's very calculating, and I like how he takes Ahsoka seriously. And when he learned that she was trained by Anakin, he takes that very seriously. I feel like, and that makes him like a good villain, because a lot of other villains would like underestimate their opponents and be like, oh yeah, whatever. But this makes him, what makes him someone to be reckoned with and someone to be concerned about, is that he doesn't underestimate them. And the fact that when he learned, because he knows how powerful Anakin was and how good he was as Anakin and as Darth Vader, so when he learned that Ahsoka was trained by them, he does not underestimate her. And I feel like, and I think that's interesting, because most shows, including like Empire Strikes Back, they would just send, even if they, because Ahsoka went into the graveyard, which was dangerous, and whenever the hero goes in the graveyard, the bad guy chases after them, gets all the ships destroyed. But Thrawn was smart enough not to do that. He's like, well, there's no point. Like, and then you had Morgan sitting there, well, why don't, because she's being the typical bad guy, she's like, why don't you send the ships in there? And he's like, no, because he's smart enough to know that Ahsoka will, outsmart and out maneuver any ships he sends, so why waste them? Which is actually smart. Instead, he waits for her to leave the asteroid field, although he goes and gets the help of the witches and gets them to pinpoint exactly where Ahsoka's ship is, so then he can attack them. Which, again, he's smart. He doesn't just mess around, and he doesn't underestimate his adversaries. And we get the bit with Sabine and Ezra. Now, last week I said I didn't have any issue with Sabine not telling Ezra what was going on, but this week it was getting a bit ridiculous, because he doesn't know that how she got there or anything, and she's being very cryptic. And eventually he's like, well, I understand you don't want to talk about it, but I should probably get home, and so it was starting to bother me how she wasn't actually saying anything. And another thing that kind of bothered me was, when they were fighting, when they got attacked by those raiders and Shen and the stormtroopers, I was like, the whole time I was like, when is Sabine gonna give Ezra his lightsaber back? I'm like, she's got to do it. Why hasn't she done it? And then finally she did it, and he rejected it. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I guess I get that he's been without it for so long, but the fact that he wants to just use the Force to fight is, I think, freaking Jedis use lightsabers. Come on. I don't know. I didn't really like that. I get that he would be, sort of out of practice with the lightsaber, but I don't know. He was just like throwing people around with the Force, and although I did think the fight scene when he was fighting Shen and he was like had no lightsaber and he was just ducking her and outwitting her was kind of cool, but I would have rather seen it with the lightsaber, personally. And then we get Baylan and Shen, and apparently Baylan is abandoning Shen, which seemed very out of nowhere to me. It seems to contradict last week when he told her that, oh, you were trained for a greater purpose, and it seemed like he was on this other mission to, like, whatever his mission is, to reset everything or whatever. But now he's telling her, oh, you desire to go off with the new empire, so go ahead and do that, and I'll give you some parting advice. That seemed rather sudden, honestly, and I do feel like with these two characters, they are kind of going to be underdeveloped. I don't get me wrong, I like everyone else is singing Ray Stevens' praises, and I've been loving Balin so far, but I feel like he needed to be developed more, or particularly his relationship with Shin, and she needed to be developed more, and we only have one episode left, so I doubt it's going to happen. So I don't know, these characters, especially Shin, is going to feel maybe a little bit underdeveloped for me, but that's just me. Yeah, and so we get the scenes of Ahsoka, flighting in the ship, trying to get to Sabine. She uses the Force to sense where Sabine is, which I kind of like it. I was a bit disappointed they didn't do the music to show that she was connecting with Sabine, but whatever. It still works and shows that Sabine is sort of connected to Ahsoka on some level. But when Ahsoka gets to the surface, she ends up jumping right in front of Balin, who distracts her. And it was interesting how she was like, "I don't have time for this," and he's like, "I know," meaning like his purpose is to delay her. Like that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to distract and delay her, so that Shin and the others can take care of Ezra and Sabine. But eventually she does manage to, and it's pretty cool, she uses the incoming ship to confuse Balin and then to sneak away, and goes and saves Sabine and Ezra right at the right time. When we have the stormtroopers who are there, have them surrounded and outnumbered, but Ahsoka shows up, and it was pretty awesome. I will mention something that I didn't mention last week, because I didn't realize this until after I recorded my video, that the actor who plays Enoch, that weird golden stormtrooper who is like Thrawn's right-hand man or commander or whatever, that's Wes Chatham from The Expanse, and I had no idea because it doesn't look like him, because he's got the helmet on, and it doesn't sound like him because it does a weird thing for his voice, but I've been told that is him, and I had heard that he was going to be in this show, and I kind of forgot about that, but I kind of wish now that he would, he would be recognizable. And I remember watching a podcast that he was doing a while ago, and he was saying, oh, he's filming something I can't talk about, and that's probably this. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing that he's not recognizable, so it could basically be anyone playing that character, but whatever. I love The Expanse, and Wes Chatham's awesome. Anyway, so yeah, we get Sabine and Ezra and Ahsoka reunion, and that's where we end the episode on a happy note. I feel like I kind of wanted a bit more from the Ahsoka Ezra reunion, but whatever. I don't know. There's just part of me that just maybe wanted a little bit more. And we had Thrawn again being wise, saying that because from Morgan's perspective, it's like, oh, it looks like we just got defeated, and he was like, no, I'll tell you what I see. We're almost ready to go into hyperdrive and leave this galaxy and leave them behind, so time is on our side, and we got to keep it this way. And again, this is Thrawn's very calculating and very like sort of playing 3-dimensional chess and whatever, and so yeah, it makes him very interesting character. So I am interested to see how how they resolve this in the finale. So my rating for Dreams and Madness out of 10. I actually think I'm gonna give this a 7. Very good. To me, this isn't as good as some of the other episodes, particularly episode 4 and 5, which to me were the clear standouts. Especially episode 4, I think was a lot more exciting and intense than this episode, where this episode felt like, I was just going through the paces and doing the action stuff. And as I said, I feel like I wanted more character stuff. I wanted more character interaction with Ahsoka reuniting with Ezra. And I wanted more character revelation involving Balin. But of course, the stuff with Thrawn that's pure gold. Like, I think they're doing a really great job portraying his character. But yeah, so overall, decent episode. So that is it for my review of the latest episode of Ahsoka. We'll be back to cover the finale next week, so be sure to check out my channel for that, and also as I cover many other videos on other things like Star Trek, Next Generation, Lower Decks, and many other Star Trek videos as well, so be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that, and thanks a lot for watching.